Hey guys, in today's video I'll be doing another tropical update on mainly Tropical Storm Beta, but before we really go in depth on talking about how Beta is doing right now and what she'll be doing heading forward into the next couple days into next week, we'll just quickly go over what else is going on in the tropics. Of course, we have Hurricane Teddy, which is now a strong Category 2 hurricane and is definitely on a weakening trend. It is at 105 miles per hour right now with pressure at 964 millibars, moving northwest at 9 miles per hour. And if we look at the projected NHC cone forecast for Teddy currently, it is still moving again to the northwest, and it seems to pretty soon will start to curve to the north and northeast and do a general motion directly towards the north, and then will become a post-tropical hurricane, post-tropical storm, and dissipate as it's impacting Nova Scotia and heading far north towards the northern and most eastern parts of Atlantic Canada and up towards Greenland. So Teddy, as of right now, in the very short term, Teddy will continue to bring very gusty winds and tropical storm force winds to Bermuda. Bermuda is under a tropical storm warning. Bermuda should expect to see of course, again, tropical storm force winds, potentially some outer rain bands from Teddy, so maybe some occasional rain showers, and of course the waters around Bermuda should be pretty choppy, and so wouldn't expect some areas around Bermuda, especially in the coastline, to get maybe some bit of overwash. So there's Teddy, and then of course we have Tropical Depression Wilfred. Wilfred is now a tropical depression and is weakening rapidly, and it should be fully dissipated by, honestly, tomorrow. I think by the time we get to tomorrow, and not even Tuesday, I think by the time we get to tomorrow, Wilfred should be fully history, and then she should issue its last actual advisory on Wilfred. So Wilfred is starting to become officially history. And then we have two other areas of disturbed weather that the NHC is monitoring. This first one is from post-tropical cyclone Paulette. It's Paulette's remnants, which have a medium chance of redeveloping. So Paulette could kind of come back from quote-unquote the dead. It has a 60% chance of formation within the next 2 to 5 days, and so we'll see what it'll do, because it is the NHC does say that it is moving back into marginally warm waters, which could help it then develop back to a tropical or subtropical, back to have tropical or subtropical characteristics during the next day or two. So we'll have to watch it going into this very early part of this week and see what it will do. And then this other disturbance that's over Florida, it's going to be moving into the Gulf. It has a very low chance of development, only has a 10% chance of development, though it does say, the NHC does say that although shower activity is currently disorganized, some development could occur when the low moves westward over the eastern Gulf of Mexico later tonight and on Monday. However, by late Tuesday or Wednesday, upper-level winds are expected to become unfavorable for tropical cyclone formation while the system moves westward to west-northwestward at about 10 miles per hour. So if we look at the 5-day tropical weather outlook, 5-day graphics, you can see it has a very small area of where it could develop, so it doesn't seem all that likely whatsoever, any good potential for the system to develop into a tropical system. But I mean, honestly, again, it's 2020, it's the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, so anything is really able to develop, and this season's just been so crazy. So honestly, that shouldn't surprise us if it does end up being a tropical system, but of course it would kind of be surprising since it doesn't seem all that likely. And you can see for the area that is the remnants of Paulette. This is the area that it has to develop as it starts to drift more towards the south and east and back towards the east, getting closer towards Portugal, which just felt the impacts of subtropical storm Alpha, which surprised all of us being named back on Friday. So that's pretty interesting. We'll see if it impacts Portugal again. That would be very, very interesting. All right, now let's talk about Beta. And Beta is currently still at 60 miles per hour. It's been at 60 miles per hour over the past day, honestly. It has not really changed much in strength. It's at 996 millibars, moving to the west-northwest at 5 miles per hour. So it is kind of speeding up a little bit. The current forecast track from the NHC has it continuing towards the north and west, and then potentially maybe going directly west for a bit of time before it seems that it will likely curve to the north and east, but first make landfall in Texas, curve to the northeast, and start to dissipate as it heads over Louisiana and farther inland over the inland southeast. But in the meantime, it will continue to bring tropical storm force winds to coastal Texas, coastal Louisiana, bring torrential rainfall and flooding and storm surge to those areas. And in fact, if we look at the total rainfall for Beta, you can see some areas, especially Galveston, is expecting potential rainfall still of anywhere from 10 to 15 inches. A lot of areas will be expecting anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rainfall, including Houston. And if you're in the greens, generally, you're anywhere from like anything to really 1 inch to 4 inches. And then getting to the yellows is 4 to 6 inches. So it will still bring lots of heavy rainfall to lots of areas. And then, of course, there is also the storm surge. Here's the storm surge. You can see actually the storm surge amounts have slightly gone up for some portion of the Texas coastline, especially for that inlet around Houston, Galveston. So the Galveston area could see up to 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, and heading into Houston could also see 3 to 5 feet of storm surge as well. So that is quite problematic. For most areas, though, they should expect 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, and maybe also some areas 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. So storm surge amounts could be still somewhat of a problem for some areas. Now let's look at the wind speed probabilities. This is the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. You can see the highest chance area for tropical storm force wind probabilities is between Houston, Galveston, and the central Texas coastline, where the percentages are anywhere from 50 to 70%. So it does seem, of course, again, more likely than not now, since some areas it is above 50% chance, slightly above a 50% chance of tropical storm force winds. So those areas will likely end up seeing tropical storm force winds anyway. So there is that. This is the 58 mile per hour wind speed probabilities, and you can see there's about up to generally a 30% chance of tropical storm force wind speed probabilities for some areas in the Texas coastline. Hurricane wind speed probabilities, there's none. There's no chance of hurricane force wind speed probability since it is not a hurricane and doesn't seem like it will become a hurricane, though. What is interesting is that the recent satellite images, and especially if you look on the radar images, it does show that Beta has started to kind of redevelop farther to the west and start to maybe form somewhat of a pretty persistent eye wall and eye, which is very, very interesting. So, there does seem to be maybe now a slightly heightened chance that it could become a hurricane. So, we'll really have to watch it heading into later today. This is the earliest reasonable arrival time for tropical storm force winds. So you can see tropical storm force winds look to arrive for some areas by Sunday 2 p.m. So some areas are already experiencing tropical storm force winds, and then getting into later this evening and into early tomorrow, tropical storm force winds will start to arrive for more areas on especially the central and northern Texas coastline and the majority of the Louisiana coastline. So Houston and Galveston, Galveston's likely is already experiencing tropical storm force winds, and Houston looks to experience tropical storm force winds around 8 p.m. Later this evening. So within the next 3 hours, tropical storm force winds should arrive for you guys in Houston. And then getting towards Corpus Christi and those areas, also towards the middle of the night, going to the middle of the night while we're sleeping, towards the 2-3 a.m. hours. So there is that, looking at that stuff for Beta for the wind speed probabilities for tropical storm force wind probabilities. And then this is the flash flooding potential. There is a moderate chance of flash flooding for Houston, Galveston, down through Corpus Christi. So that's a 20% chance of flash flooding. So these areas will honestly probably see some flooding in some areas, and actually I do believe in fact there have already been some areas that have already started flooding in the Texas coastline areas, so there is that big problem too. And then actually even going to even going to day 3, you can see there a slight chance still for that, especially that Houston Galveston area, extending a bit into the southwest Louisiana coastline and extending up getting near New Orleans and up into the very northern eastern parts of Louisiana into very southwestern portions of Mississippi. All right, now let's go back and look at the it doesn't look like the the 5 p.m. advisory has come out yet for the systems yet. So maybe we'll check back in a little bit to see if there's any updates for any of them, because that'll be interesting to show you guys on here. Let's show you the aircraft recon, and so there's a new Air Force plane that has a mission going into Teddy now, so that's in progress. Heading into that. There's 2 Air Force planes actually heading into Teddy, so that's interesting. And then there's another NOAA plane that's, I guess, going. Oh, this NOAA plane seems to be going into that Florida system. That's interesting. Oh, and then this is the latest recon pass in beta. If I click on the image, there you go, so you can see it a little closer in. Recon has found that the center has kind of relocated a little bit to the west within that much more deeper and higher amount of convection. And you can see the wind speeds are somewhat responding, where it is a bit higher, more towards 55 to 60 knots. That would translate in miles per hour to, I believe, somewhere around 60 to 65 miles per hour. So that does show maybe a slight strengthening of the winds. So we'll see what the recon and the NHC end up calling for at the 5 p.m. advisory, and especially as we head towards later this evening. So Teddy is on a weakening trend, as I was saying. It's at a strong Category 2 now. Models do have it most of the models do have it maintaining strength. It does seem between now and 2 days from now, by Tuesday, and then really dropping off in intensity once, I guess, likely once it starts really interacting with that cold front and goes more post-tropical. So that does seem to be the case. But for beta, here's the satellite imagery for beta, and you can see beta does seem to be also, again, as I was saying, kind of having a bit of a comeback in a way. Having a big amount of convection there. The center is definitely well within, underneath all that strong convection, so that's a good thing if it does want to end up trying to intensify at all. And the hurricane model track guidance does show it continuing to the north and west, and then going onshore of Texas and curving to the northeast sharply and starting to dissipate. So that is something to keep watching. As of right now, it shows it being like a mid-grade, slightly strong tropical storm, but zoom this out so you guys can see it a little better. But yeah, again, it shows it being a mid-grade, slightly strong tropical storm, but all the models have it weakening significantly, especially as we head into the next day. So there's that. So it doesn't seem all that likely, honestly, that it will get to hurricane status anyway. So there is that. Now I'll show you real quick some of the models, what they're showing for tropical storm beta. So there's beta right there. This is the GFS model run, the 12Z run. And you can see as we head forward in time, shows it going pretty much directly west and then onshore of Texas and moving to the northeast and quickly dissipating and dying out. So there's what the GFS is showing, and then I'll show you now also what the European is showing with the vorticity. Gotta change that actually real quick. Vorticity. So there's that vorticity for beta. The European shows pretty much the exact same thing as the GFS, so shows it going directly more or less to the west and northwest, going onshore of Texas, and then quickly dissipating as it heads directly towards the northeast into Louisiana. Now I'll show you the CMC run, what the CMC is showing for beta, and you can see the CMC also generally shows really the exact same thing, has it going onshore of Texas and then quickly dissipating. Now I'll show you what the total rainfall is being shown according to the GFS and CMC runs. So we move this a little farther out into time, bring it out to there by around 8 in the morning on Friday the 25th, so this Friday, to total accumulated precipitation. Oh wait, no, this isn't right. That was here. Here it is. So you can see it's showing generally purples, blues, and purples. So generally up towards maybe 6 inches in some spots, but generally up towards 4 inches, maybe 5 inches in most general areas. But especially there for central and eastern Louisiana, around New Orleans even, and parts of very southern parts of Mississippi. Much more widespread rainfall totals of closer towards 6, 7, 8 inches of rainfall. So still showing that there is a likelihood of still a lot more heavy rainfall to come, and will have that and continue to have that heightened chance for flash flooding because of that. Now what the CMC is showing for total rainfall. CMC is showing a a little bit more watered down forecast for total rainfall than GFS, showing more amounts of rainfall closer towards just like 2-3 inches, maybe 4 inches of rainfall for southwestern Louisiana, where Laura made landfall. But there is that just offshore is that much heavier rainfall, closer towards a foot of rainfall, just offshore of central and southwestern coast of Louisiana. But then for Texas, again, the CMC is showing only rainfall totals of up towards 2, maybe 3 inches in some spots. So I guess from this point forward, Texas, Louisiana, especially coastal Texas, from Corpus Christi through Houston, Galveston, into southwestern and generally southern Louisiana and maybe some parts of southern Mississippi, expect rainfall totals, some rainfall totals to still be anywhere between 2 and 6 inches of rainfall. So that is what the total rainfall is being shown for the models. Now, just looking at just real quick before we end out the video, the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season Wikipedia page. Again, we've had a total of 24 depressions, total of 23 storms, total of 8 hurricanes, total of 2 major hurricanes. Since we have a total of 23 named storms, that has put us at the second most active Atlantic hurricane season on record. Total deaths so far this season, total fatalities is at 135 total, and total damage is now at around $22.245 billion in damage. So it's a pretty decently damaging season so far. And this is the most active September we've seen in history for any Atlantic hurricane season, having 10 named storms form so far in the month of September. And we could see maybe an 11 or 12 total by the end of September. So that could still slightly go up. So that's just crazy, honestly. And then of course we still have all of October, all of November to go before the season officially ends on November 30th. And then of course again you can see we have Teddy, Wilfred, and Beta all active. We have 3 named storms active at once right now. And the next name on the list is Gamma for the Greek alphabet. So we're just chugging along, honestly. Likely will be 2005, honestly, as we get towards the end of October, I'd say. And you can see that, the total damages have been pretty high, especially due to Isaias, Laura, and Sally. Those are the 3 main systems we've had thus far that have caused the most amount of damage so far this season. And then, of course, we've had some other systems causing at least a few $100 billion in damage as well. So all of that put together, again, has put us at a total of somewhere around $22.245 billion in damage. So a pretty damaging season. The ACE, actually, total so far this season is now at, let me move this over and zoom this in for you guys so you can see that. The total ACE now is at 92.47 units. So the ACE has definitely gone up a good bit since we've had so many named storms active at once, especially, and especially also combined with just this very sharp increase of named storms we've seen ever since the mid to the end of August through now. So that's that. And that's really it for today's video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. It's just another update on Sally. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it informative, helpful whatsoever. And again, if anyone's living in those coastal areas of Texas and Louisiana, if anyone's living in Houston, Galveston, Corpus Christi, Cameron, Louisiana, that was where Laura officially made landfall, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, New Orleans even, make sure you are all at least prepared, especially if you're in southwestern Louisiana and, of course, coastal Texas. Make sure you guys are the most prepared for the flooding, rainfall, and damage from Beta as we move forward, and as Beta slowly gets closer to you guys and making landfall there. So again, yep, that's it for today's video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed. Please consider liking, subscribing the video, especially if you're a first-time viewer and you like what you saw in today's video. Please consider subscribing. Please consider commenting on the video if you want to, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.